what is the strategic roadmap you're giving to agencies so that they can really start to help solve for this?
Yeah, I think I'd frame it less as like a fixed roadmap and more as how teams are adapting based on their own maturity and where they are in that path. The brands and agencies that do get ahead right now aren't waiting for the system to become more simple. They're building strategies that work within it. And when we look across clients that we talk to, we often see three patterns emerge. The first one is going to be how identity and data are connected across their media stack. Not in the sense that this is a single fix-all solution that I think we all wish was available, but more realistically, a collection of systems that each solve different parts of the problem, and they all need to work together. We know this because first-party data, exposure data, and conversion data likely are all living in different environments in a media stack. The challenge is connecting them in a way that preserves privacy, but also allows for your team to have meaningful analysis. So that's where these environments like Amazon Marketing Cloud, Google Ads Data Hub, cloud infrastructures like Snowflake, and then partners like LiveRamp, or we can even consider TransUnion, all play different roles, but they're all supporting a different layer in how measurement gets connected across that landscape. Now, the second one that we see is measurement across platforms. One of the biggest mistakes that we see is relying on a single source to validate that performance. And that can be a signal, but it shouldn't be your full picture. The stronger approach is going to be triangulation. Platform reporting gives directional insight, of course, but you can also depend on independent partners to provide validation, and experimentation can also have some causal proof. None of those are sufficient on their own, but when we start to see them together, we get a more stable way of making decisions in a very already fragmented environment. And this third piece, I think, is my favorite, is when all of this comes together, we get better activation and storytelling. Because once measurement gets more connected, the opportunity shifts from an isolated impression to a coordinated sequence. A consumer might see a CTV ad, and then they later follow up with an ad on a mobile device or desktop, and eventually we see them convert in a retail media environment or search. And that's really where we want to see the shift. CTV stops being just another media channel and starts becoming part of that broader cross-channel strategy that we're all hoping we see it within.
You know, something I hear frequently from a lot of the agencies I speak to day in, day out is that their internal teams are still structured in a way that kind of creates a silo effect. It kind of depends per agency, but we're seeing that like CTV is often managed strictly by programmatic teams, but if an agency is not running programmatic, they're doing direct buys, and that can live with different people. It makes me wonder if organizational design is actually preventing them from measuring CTV as holistically as they would really like to.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely a part of it. The challenge with CTV isn't just technical, as we've said. It definitely comes down to that structure on your agency or marketer side. Most agencies are very much still structured by channels and around those outcomes. Programmatic owns CTV, social is going to own social, search is going to own intent. But we know consumers don't experience media that way. They often move fluidly through all of them, and sometimes, as Michelle stated, at the same time. And that structure creates fragmentation in how performance gets interpreted and optimized. A big part of this issue comes down to that incentive alignment within these agencies. Teams are still measured within their own channels and attribution signals. And so that leads to duplicated credit, inconsistent narratives, and decisions that aren't always optimal to a cross-level or cross-channel level. And what we're starting to see is that in place of that, advanced organizations shift more towards this shared measurement framework like an MMM that can sit above that channel level. So instead of each team optimizing independently, performance can then be evaluated in a unified view across their full media ecosystem.